Hello. All right. I'm going to say something and then I'm going to explain myself. So, I'm convinced that we are in the midst of a global shift in the body of Christ at the moment. And so, I'm just going to share some of my thoughts, my process around this. But part of this global shift is basically it's individuals who are done with hard and heavy religion and they're coming back to the simplicity of the gospel. And in a nutshell, they just want Jesus. So, no more hype, no more fluff, no more performance Christianity, this works-based mindset. They simply and only want Jesus. That's it. And so this is part of this global shift that I believe we're in at the moment and that I want to share with you. And so like anything, guys, just take what benefits you, discard what doesn't. I'm not anybody's God or guru. I'm just here to give a raw window into what my life with Jesus looks like and hope that it might bless some of you guys. And so like I said, I believe that we're in the midst of a global shift at the moment. This kind of started a year ago. And so a year ago, I began to have this hunch that there is something happening in the body globally. And I began to have this hunch that it is to do with simplicity, to do with the light and easy yoke, and to do with believers exiting out of hard and heavy religion and coming back to God's original intent. And so I begin to share about this openly. I blog about it. I share about it on social media. And I begin to just invite people into my process, my thoughts, and just some of the things that I'm thinking, sharing, sensing. 6 months go by and I'm not getting very much feedback, if any at all. And by feedback, I mean, I don't know if people are resonating with this. I don't know if people are seeing this as well. And so I begin to question and doubt myself. And I begin to wonder, am I just being naive? Am I in fantasy land here? Am I just making things up? And I think that's a common thing when you are honest about your journey. That's just part of it, at least for me. I do question because I don't want to be wrong, so to speak. And so 6 months go by from this first sensing of this hunch, and I begin to doubt myself. And so I decide one day, all right, I'll just shut shop. I'll just close this because I don't know if there's anything in this. And yeah, I'll just park it there and I'll just stick with the Christianity that I understand and know. I go to sleep that night and then I have this dream. And in the dream, there's this old man. And this old man says to me in the dream, keep walking forward. Do not hesitate. I'm the one leading you here. It was very sobering and it was very alarming. And in the dream, that was my good father. And it was my good father saying to me, hey, I'm the one leading you here. Do not hesitate. Keep walking forward. And so I wake up and I realize, okay, I've just got to keep walking this path out. Within the next week, all these people come out of the woodworks, so to speak. So I begin to get emails, messages from people who've been just quietly following my journey and reading my blog. And they're basically coming out and saying, hey, you're speaking to me, or you're speaking to us. We've been sensing the same thing. We're walking this out as well. We're with you. And so it was very validating. It was very validating and it was very comforting for me to realize, okay, I'm not losing my marbles and I'm not being naive. This is a real thing. And there is some sort of shift happening where people are coming back to the simplicity of the gospel and the light and easy yoke of Jesus. And so it was just very encouraging. Fast forward a year to today, and I can say over this last month or the last 2 months, I can say with confidence and with evidence that there is a legitimate global shift that is happening. And the reason for why I can say that is because, particularly here on YouTube, I'm getting so many comments, I'm getting so many emails from people all across the globe, and they're all saying the same thing. They're saying, hey, we sense it. We see what you're saying. We hear what you're saying. We've been walking this out too. We're on the journey, and it's so glad to connect. It's so good to connect with you. And so I'm getting emails and comments from people all over New Zealand, Australia, the US, the UK, Germany, Czech Republic, Malaysia, the Pacific Islands, South Africa, and it's been so encouraging. And so after this year of not knowing, like, am I just making this up? Is this a real thing? I'm now getting validation for it. I'm seeing others come to the table and saying, hey, that's us. And now it's just very, very exciting. And so this is why I'm saying I believe that we're in a global shift in the body of Christ at the moment. And so part of what that global shift looks like, if I can explain it, I like to explain it that basically it's like a return to Eden. So Eden was a place that represented rest and union with our good Father. And so Adam is created into this place of rest and union with God. So his first full day, his first full experience of existence is Sabbath rest. So God doesn't say to Adam, hey, go work and then rest with me. Instead, he says, hey, come rest with me, and together we'll walk side by side and we'll work together. So that was God's original intent, that we live from this place of union and rest with him. And from that place, everything would grow from our lives. So it's just like abiding in the vine, as Jesus said, abide in me and you'll produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing anyway. So this was God's original intent. Sin came in, severed us from this connection, and so now instead of enjoying the place of union and rest, we now try to strive. We had the sweat on our brow come about to try and work our way back to this place of rest and union. Jesus steps into history, to humanity. He restores this broken bridge, so to speak, and he calls us back to this place of God's original intent. And so this shift that we're seeing taking place is basically an invitation back to the rest, to the union, to the light and easy yoke that Jesus always intended us from the beginning. So that's the invitation. That's part of the global shift. And so many people now, they're leaving the hard and heavy yoke of religion, all the things that they tried to do by the sweat of their brow to return back to this place. They're now realizing, oh, I don't have to do anything for that. I just simply respond to his invitation, come back to him, and now everything happens from here. And so I like to use the prodigal son in this example because in the story of the prodigal son, he goes and lives this wild, rebellious life. He comes to his senses and he decides to make a return back to his father. So he makes his way back home. His father sees him. His father runs to him, lavishes him, loves him, kisses him, and then throws a party for him. Before the prodigal son returned, he even thought, he said, oh, maybe I can become a servant in my father's house. So there he's trying to think of ways to earn his way back to the father. But when the father spots him, the father runs to him. And so this is what's happening in this global shift, is that many of us are laying down all the ways that we thought that we had to do to perform in order to jump through the hoop, so to speak, to get back to our good father. But instead, what's happening here is that we're laying down, we're becoming awake, so to speak, to the hard and heavy yoke of religion that's wrapped itself in the name of Jesus. We're seeing the falsehood of it, we're laying it down, and now the Father's coming and meeting us and lavishing us, and now we're beginning to enjoy this journey back into the light and easy yoke of Jesus. And so this returning back requires nothing from you. It requires nothing from me. Instead, it requires just simple surrender. So this is not about leaving the bad for the good. This is about leaving striving for surrender. And in that place of surrender and coming back and just saying, Father, I want to receive from you. I just want to be with you the way that you originally intended. He's the one who runs to us, lavishes us, kisses us, and then throws a celebration for us. So that's the shift that's taken place. Now, in that same story, you have the other brother who was so upset and offended that the father threw this party for the son. And this is part of what we're going to see happen in this global shift, is that we're going to see a clearer distinction between the sons and the orphans. And so the orphans, and when I say orphans, I'm just talking about religious mindset, Pharisee mindset, just those who are so ingrained by religion. They have no grid for the father freely giving, lavishing, and celebrating their sons. Because in a work-based mentality, a religious mindset, it's up to you and I to work. We have to do something. We have to earn something to come back to this place. But in the kingdom and the sonship, it's an invitation, and the Father meets us and restores us back. And so we're going to see a clearer distinction between sons and orphans. And part of this is we are also going to see opposition from the orphans towards the sons. And so I'm already experiencing this. You might be experiencing this as well. And some of the ways that I'm experiencing at the moment is that anytime I talk about rest or the light and easy yoke of Jesus, there is always some sort of pushback or rebuke from the orphan mindset, from the religious or the Pharisee mindset. And so some examples is that when I talk about rest, is that some people only hear it as me saying, that means you don't do anything. So do nothing. Just sit there, que sera, whatever will be, don't do nothing. And so they'll start throwing out scriptures at me like faith without works is dead. And the only reason why they say that is because they're not hearing what I'm saying. And so this is the problem when we have religious filters and works-based filters, is that we don't see things as they are. We see things as our filter allows. Or we don't hear things as they're being said. We hear things as our filter allows. And so when I talk about rest and I get this pushback, it's because they're not hearing what I'm saying. So when I talk about rest, I'm not talking about just to sit and do nothing. Instead, rest is the most underrated, and I'm convinced the most forgotten power today. Like I said, that was God's original intent, that we were to live from the place of rest. And rest does not mean do nothing. Instead, it means finally doing the right things with Him. And so, like I said, apart from Jesus, you can do nothing. But when you come back to the place, His promised rest that He's invited us to live from there, He now causes all the fruit to grow for us. He's the one who causes us to will and to do according to His good pleasure. And He is the one who's already created good works for us to do with Him. So this is not about me trying to do something for God. This is about me coming back to the place of union and doing things with God. That is the difference. But I get so much pushback and so much rebuke because they can't hear what I'm saying. And to say that rest is apathetic or passive or lazy is to misunderstand rest entirely. Because rest is the most underrated and the most forgotten power today. I love the story of the disciples in the storm. And here they are trying to fight against the storm, but then there's Jesus having a sleep. And I've learned in my life that when storms hit, when things come, I've learned to rest in Jesus, to take a nap, so to speak. And when I say nap, I'm not talking about a physical nap. I'm talking about a nap, a rest in my soul, where I'm surrendering to Him. And I'm just saying, Father, help me to respond according to your wisdom here. And so amidst the storms, I've learned to take a nap. Why? Because the only one who had the power over the storm was the one resting in it, not the one who was trying to wrestle against it. And so rest is such a underrated and misunderstood power. And so for those who say that rest is lazy, apathetic, they have not understood Christ's promised rest. Some of the other pushback I get as well is that whenever I talk about the light and easy yoke, for some reason those words seem to trigger or offend the religious mindset, the Pharisee mindset. And some of the pushback I get is that, yeah, it's light and easy, but you still have to have hardship. Yeah, but you still have to have difficulty. Yeah, but you still have to go through hard, difficult things. And some people have accused me of saying that, oh, we just live this carefree life where now it's all good, nothing bad happens, come to Jesus and He makes your life better. I've not even said that once. But it's super interesting that, again, like I said, when you have a religious filter and a workspace filter, you can only hear what your filter allows you to hear. When the reality is, we've had many difficulties and much hardship in our journey in our life. And I've been very open about sharing this here on YouTube. Just before Christmas, we had a near tragedy with my son. I've shared about that. That was very hard. That was very difficult. And a few months before that, we had our caravan break down here on the main highway in New Zealand. That was very hard. That was very difficult. But we were able to overcome that, not because of our performance, but because we're deeply rooted in the place of rest and union with Him. So Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble, but be of good cheer, for I've already overcome the world. So rest and the light and easy yoke of Jesus is not an absence of difficulty. Rather, it's the ability to have good cheer to overcome them because you're rooted in Him. So it's not about our performance. It's about being rooted in Him. That is the power of rest. That is the power of the light and easy yoke of Jesus. And that is the invitation, the global shift that is taking place, that we've been invited back to this place of rest and union where we can now finally live the way that God originally and always intended for us. And so that's the shift. And in that shift, you're going to get opposition. You're going to be misunderstood. And I think what we will see is that we will see the orphans try to not just oppose, but even crucify the sons, so to speak. But even in that, the sons are going to be willing to lay their lives down, even for the orphans. They're going to become like their good father. And that's such a privilege, I believe, that we can become like Him in the midst of opposition and in the midst of misunderstanding, that we'll be willing to lay our life down just like Him. And so that is the global shift that is taking place, where believers' sons are now leaving the hard and heavy yoke of religion, of performance Christianity, and a works-based mindset, and they're coming back to the light and easy yoke of Jesus, the simplicity of the gospel that He always intended from the beginning. There will be opposition along the way. There will be those who oppose it along the way, but that is also an invitation for you and I to become like our good Father. Romans 8 says that all creation is waiting for the revealing of mature sons. It's not waiting for the rapture. It's not waiting for revival. It's not waiting for orphans. It's waiting for the revealing of the mature sons. And so this shift, this moment is an opportunity, is the invitation for the sons of God to rise up, to be made manifest, because all creation is waiting for them. That is the invitation. And so if you are somebody who's been sensing the same shift, maybe you're in it right now, and you've been possibly like me wondering, is this a real thing? Am I doubting myself? I want to say to you, you're not going crazy. You're not alone. And the invitation here is that it's a response to return home. So you're not in rebellion, you're making a return. And you're not going crazy, you're just tired of religion. And so this is the exciting global shift that I'm seeing. And so if you're on that journey, I just want to say I bless you, and I bless you to walk this out with strength, with courage, but from the place of rest and union with your good Father, where it's no longer about your and my works, it's about His finished work. It's not about your and my performance, it's about His perfect performance. And it's not about you and I trying to do something for God. Instead, it's us now doing things with God from the place of union, abiding in the vine, because apart from Him, you can do nothing. So come back to the place of union, of rest in Him. He causes the fruit to grow. And it's now this journey, like Adam who walked in the cool of the garden, we now get to walk in the cool of life with our good Father. And it's very exciting. And so I bless you, and I hope it makes sense to you as well. But you're not alone. And this is the invitation. This is the global shift that I'm seeing. I now have validation for it because I'm in so much contact with so many people around the globe. And it's very exciting. So if you're somebody who wants support or help to walk out this journey, I have an online coaching community and even one-on-one coaching option where I just help walk people through this shift and this transition, because like I said, it can be lonely and sometimes it can be difficult, and sometimes you just want to be with like-hearted community and to make that shift, to let go of everything that you've wrapped your Christianity in, your identity in, and you're leaving the hard and heavy to come back to the simplicity. Sometimes it can be difficult and people can get lost in transition. So if you want help, support for that, you're more than welcome to reach out. No pressure, just an invitation. I'll pop a link in the pinned comments for you. But most of all, I want to say, this global shift is taking place. You're hearing it, you're sensing it, you're seeing it, and you're responding to the invitation, the call of your good Father to come back to him. And he's ready to lavish you, to love you, and to bring you back to the original intent of the garden of rest and union, where now we can enjoy the cool of life, become like him, and become the sons that all creation is waiting for. And it's very exciting. So bless you.